Hi, mining community. Welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the Mining Podcast. And we have a returning guest today who first appeared back in May 2021, which was episode 137. So Bert Munro, who's the CEO of Cora Gold, who are a UK-based, AIM-listed gold exploration company who are developing three gold assets in Mali and Senegal. Bert has a strong background in the resources sector, and especially in Africa, having spent 10 years with Hummingbird Resources in their senior management team. So has a great understanding of how to develop gold mining assets in those regions. He's been the CEO for Cora Gold for nearly 3 years, and he's going to take us through the journey and give us an update on their developments and what the outlook for the company is moving forward. So that's welcome Bert to the podcast. How you doing, Bert?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Rob. Thanks a lot for the intro. You left me nearly nothing to say now, so well done.
I'm sure you've got some more things to say, but yeah, for those that didn't listen to the previous episode, which was obviously probably a year and a half ago or so, just wondering if you can give us a quick snapshot of yourself, your background, and just give us a brief overview of Cora Gold before I go into a number of questions that I want to ask you.
Yeah, sure, no problem. As you mentioned, yeah, I worked for Hummingbird for I think a little over 10 years, I think 11, 12 years, before joining Cora Gold as CEO in January 2020. Initially, I was operationally based with Hummingbird, so I lived out in Liberia on the Digby Gold project for 2.5 years, and then obviously came back, and as you said, was in the sort of senior management team there, focusing around, I guess, the growth. We obviously was involved in the acquisition of Yanfolila and obviously the financing and development of Yanfolila. Before moving to Cora, and obviously had a really exciting and really good few years at Cora, where we've obviously been rapidly expanding our resources, and obviously just recently finished feasibility studies. So yeah, that's my background. I mean, the last I guess nearly 15 years now, focused in West Africa, focused on gold and obviously moving projects forward on the ground.
Yeah, we're recording this at the end of November, but you had a busy day last Monday with Cora Gold with the DFS and maiden reserves and optimized project economics. Can you give us a little update on the progress to sort of get this point over what's happened over the past year?
Yeah, sure. So over the last, I guess, 2 years, we've been, I guess, both twofold. We've been rapidly expanding our resources. So we've now got nearly 1 million ounces of resources, mineral resources in the ground. 2/3 of those resources are in indicated, with 1/3 in inferred, and the vast majority of those resources are in oxide. So a free digging material, which is obviously, has generally high recoveries and lower mining and processing costs. So the main focus initially was on expanding our resources. We had a resource update last year as well as this year to get us to that point. And additionally, we've just updated our exploration target as well. It's very much a brownfields exploration target within 8 kilometers of existing MRE pits, and it shows a potential for up to another 1.3 million ounces of gold there as well. So you've got line of sight to potentially over 2 million ounces of gold, pretty much all in oxides with a little bit in transitional as well. So that's really exciting for us. Additionally, last August, we started a feasibility study, the results of which we announced, as you said, on Monday last week. Showed a really good high margin project, 1.2-year payback period, over 50% IRR project, life of mine average production of around 60,000 ounces of gold a year. At the moment, we've got a 422,000 ounce reserve at 1.3 grams a ton, but importantly, our strip ratio is under 5:1. So the amount of waste you're moving for every bit of ore is relatively low, which is very positive and helps keep us in a sub $1,000 all-in sustaining cost environment. For us, as I just mentioned, obviously with the exploration target and obviously the additional mineral resources which aren't yet in reserves, obviously there's a huge amount of upside for this project. It's currently slated to be 6.8 years on reserves alone. We also pit optimized we pit optimized the inferred resources on the same criteria as our reserves, and it gave us another 2.5 years of mine life, and an additional $76 million of free cash flow. So for us, we can see clearly line of sight to a 10+ year project at San and Cora with a very straightforward, low technical risk project. So yeah, very excited about the future for it.
Yeah. So just wondering if you can give us some of the key takeaways of the optimized economics that obviously, if you obviously can just expand on that.
Yeah, sure. So I think for us, it was about delivering a project that we could finance and we could build. one that had low technical risk, was a straightforward project to build and operate, and one that obviously offered shareholders very good return. So with that in mind, the capex is $90 million. As we touched on, we'll probably touch on it later about financing, but obviously we've got a very supportive major shareholder on our register. Low technical risk, it's an open pit oxide mine, so no drill and blast needed. In terms of the processing, you don't need 3 stages of crushing for the processing, so relatively straightforward process on a traditional gravity CIL operation, which is seen across West Africa. And in terms of shareholder returns, you've got 52% IRR project. You've got a project that's delivering over $70 million of free cash flow in the first full year of production. It's a high margin project, with quick payback period. So for us, it's looking like a very strong project, which we're really excited to get into development of.
You mentioned obviously the reserve mine life of 6.8 years. What is the scope for extending this and expanding your reserves?
I think very good. So we've drilled out our resource pits from about 7 kilometers of sort of surface strike length, and we've got over 30 kilometers of mineralized strike length on our permit areas. So we certainly feel there's significant scope to expand our resources and obviously then our reserves. That's also proven by the fact we've got a 920,000 ounce MRE, and then we've got the additional up to 1.3 million ounce exploration target as well. So obviously we'll be looking over time to continue step out drilling, but also infill drilling to increase the categorizations of existing resources. So look, we've got very strong belief that we'll significantly expand our resources over time.
Now obviously you have a clearer view on the route to production. I suppose the next big focus is obviously on funding. So I just wondered if you can obviously talk about financing.
Yeah, sure. So obviously been in the public domain for a while now, but we had a $25 million term sheet with Lionhead Capital. Lionhead Capital is a Cape Town-based finance firm, investment firm, linked with the Quirk family, who are our largest shareholder. As we said in the press release on the study, we're currently under negotiation of that term sheet and looking to expand it to $30 million. Obviously, it's a predominantly equity-based term sheet. And also at the same time in that press release, we also mentioned that we're in discussion with various potential lending partners on the project. So obviously, there's only so much I can say right now on this podcast, but obviously looking forward to updating shareholders with further progress as we make steps towards delivering on San and Cora. But clearly, we've got some very positive ongoing discussions around financing at the moment.
Realistically, how soon are you aiming to be in production?
I mean, obviously, at the moment, you've got to close your financing, you've got to complete your permitting. Ultimately, the way the project's set out, there's around a 21-month development period for the project. You've got around 3 months of detailed engineering work before you move into construction. Construction should be 12 to 15 months period, and then you obviously move into commissioning, which hopefully will take less than 3 months, but obviously currently in the studies it takes up to 3 months. So, depending on the time it takes to close the financing and to close all the permitting needed, I hope that can be done over the course of Q1 or before the end of Q1. That you'll be hopefully producing gold in 2024.
Yeah, and obviously your focus is on gold, and gold seems to be having a sort of a bit of a nice run at the moment. What are your views on, I suppose, the gold price moving forward? And obviously, I'm not asking for any predictions, but how do you see it playing out?
I mean, look, obviously my focus is on delivering a project at lower cost as possible. I mean, I have no control over the gold price, so we've got to focus on building as efficient and lower cost operation as we can to maximize our free cash margin for shareholders. From a gold price perspective, I think, look, clearly there's a huge amount of data out there and economists who are pointing to I guess the gold price going much higher. And certainly, obviously, I would subscribe to that view. So I think clearly, I don't think there's many people who are thinking gold price is going to be dropping much below where it is at the moment in the near future. I think certainly most of the forecasts I read from various banks or other economists certainly looking to it be 1,800 or north of 1,800 through the course of next year and the year after. So I'm certainly happy that if we're delivering a project at a sub $1,000 all-in sustaining cost, that our project should be delivering very good free cash flow margin for shareholders, assuming those gold prices stay where they are.
Yeah, and you've been obviously working, as you mentioned in the introduction, you've been working in Africa and West Africa for the last 15 years. How has it changed from when you first started to now? Just generally speaking, within the mining industry.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I suppose because I sort of moved between countries, it's hard to compare. I mean, when I was initially in Liberia back in 2009, it was relatively soon after the sort of civil war had ended there. At the time, they didn't have a commercial gold mining industry per se. I mean, they've obviously now got commercial gold mines there, so it was a more, I guess it was yeah, it's very different to Mali, which is Mali where we've been operating with Cora. It's had 30 years of commercial gold mines there. It's had obviously Randgold, who everyone will have known of, which obviously now Barrick. You've also got the likes of B2 Gold there, Anglo, and others. So you've had for a number of decades now major gold mining companies operating in Mali with significant gold mines. So you've just got a great wealth and depth of people really to lean on and hire. So I look back to the COVID times with Cora, and we had a fully Malian team in country. So we were not impacted by COVID operationally because our exploration programs were being carried out by national teams who have got a great level of experience and have worked on many internationally known projects in the region. So for us, that's been a fantastic change, I think. So for me, I guess the change is more my early part of my career was in Liberia, which was a more which was, I guess, at the earlier stage of developing the mining sector compared to Mali, where obviously working out, it's got a much more established mining sector, infrastructure and people. So yeah, that's I guess that's where I see the change. I suppose is more moving country per se than just general shift over those years.
Yeah, and how do you see the African mining market developing over the sort of coming years? Obviously, it's a rich jurisdiction, or Africa is as a continent. How do you see it playing out, especially in the jurisdictions that you're working in? How do you see the mining industry moving forward?
Yeah, well, I think you just said it. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, Africa is in my mind the place to be in terms of making significant mineral discoveries. I think, particularly for gold in West Africa, there's obviously been a massive growth of gold in West Africa over the last 30 years, and you're still seeing significant discoveries being made there. I mean, Endeavour Mining made a 3 million ounce discovery only last week in not that far from where our project is. So if you want to go out and make greenfields, virgin discoveries, for me, for gold particularly, West Africa is the place to be and still is. We've obviously picked up our project and we've been adding ounces there steadily over the last couple of years, and we've got a number of other projects in Mali where we've got drilled discoveries, which with more cash we'd be exploring further and quicker, and obviously expanding on those as well. So for me, it's the place to be from an exploration perspective. I think from an operating perspective as well, you've now got a very educated in the mining sector. I mean, think of the UK. I mean, there's very little experience of mining in the UK anymore. Whereas you go to Mali and everyone's wanting to study mining, everyone wants to work in the mining sector. So actually you've got a much better depth of people to hire, and ultimately all these businesses are people businesses. And I think having that quality of personnel to draw on is really helpful.
Yeah, and lastly, what's the outlook for Cora Gold over the next sort of 6 to 12 months? And also, if there's anything else that you want to add.
Well, I hope very good. I mean, obviously, it's a really, really exciting time for us. We've just delivered a study. We've been working on it for over a year. The results look fantastic. And I think now we're in a very exciting time where we're obviously going through sort of financing and permitting, and obviously looking to execute on the project next year. So, for me, thinking that we'll be starting building a gold mine in the first half of next year is just a really exciting thing to be doing. I think also from a shareholder perspective, I think, finance projects as they move into development, generally speaking, re-rate 2 to 3 times. Through that period of construction. So I think from an investor perspective, looking at it, when you're there with a project which has got a complete feasibility study, which has got its financing in place, you're looking at normally pretty good share price appreciation over that period of time as well.
Yeah, but really appreciate your time and give us an update on Cora Gold, and obviously tell us a little bit about Africa and what your thoughts and experiences are. If our audience wants to reach out to you, how can they go about doing that? What social media platforms are you on?
Yeah, sure. Well, obviously, contact numbers and emails are on our website on the contact page. Equally, we're on Twitter and LinkedIn. So yeah, reach out, and obviously I'll get back to you, or someone else will get back to the team depending on what the request is about. But yeah, I'd say go to our website, coragold.com. Yeah, it's a contact page there with email and phone number. Equally, we're on Twitter and also LinkedIn. So yeah, get in touch if you want to. Always happy to chat and speak to people.
Yeah, certainly. And we'll include those in the show notes accompanying this podcast as well. So that for easy access, they can contact you if they've got any questions or queries. So really appreciate your time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Africa is obviously a strong jurisdiction moving forward in terms of obviously exploration and obviously gold mining, as Bert has pointed out. So appreciate if you can share this episode amongst others around the world, around the mining community, in all jurisdictions, countries around the world. Really appreciate your continued support. And until next time, happy mining.